Hello everybody again, this is Haruna Hosokawa from OIIT Digital Learning Team, the Program Director for STEM and Engineering Initiatives. And this is the ScratchJr webinar for young coders. I'm going to start off with a few short slides, and I'll talk a little bit about what Hour of Code is and what ScratchJr is, and then move on to a hands-on activity, which should take up most of our time, and then end with some questions. I just want to show you quickly what the back channel is all about. We're going to be using Today's Meet for back channel, which this is the Today's Meet page. You can log on with your name and just quickly send us a message if you have any questions, or if you're not getting audio, or if you have any issues. So what is Hour of Code? It's an international movement that was started out by a lot of coders in Silicon Valley to try to teach code to more students. And the main mission is to take a week during the Computer Science Week in December 7th through 11th this year, and do at least an hour of coding activity with every student. And this is just a screenshot of the website. But they're so committed to this movement that if you actually go to sign up using the sign up link, this is a screenshot, so the link doesn't work, but if you actually go there and sign up and say, yes, I will do this with my students, every educator will get a $10 gift certificate for just doing it, doing an hour of coding with each student. So there's really nothing to lose on our part. They're very committed. It's a very large movement. They have millions of students involved in this. Now, for this year, for BPS, we're doing a big push to do this district-wide. So we have a district-wide website, tiny.cc/BPS-HOC 2015. And here, actually, let me switch over to the actual website and just show you a few seconds. So if you scroll down, you will see some links to contests, raffles, and prizes, PD opportunities, and more resources. We are going to be doing different student contests and raffles and prizes for classroom teachers and schools. We don't have the details up on the page yet, but we have a lot of prize sponsors who have promised us to give technology and or money to teachers and students and classrooms and schools, sorry, who participate in the Hour of Code. So again, if you're a student, there will be different contests available during that week. If you are a teacher who participates, you will be eligible to enter a raffle for classroom prizes. And if at least half of your school participates in the Hour of Code, we will be offering school prizes on a raffle basis as well. So stay tuned and come back to this website, and we will be updating information as they come along. So as we find out more information about what prizes are available, we'll be updating that. What we would like you to do for everybody is to go to this website again and click on the BPS HOC pledge, which basically just tells us that you're going to be doing this and gives us a way to contact you in the future. So if you take the pledge and give us your name and your email, we will make sure that you get the most updated information about all of these contests and prizes. So make sure you do that at the end of the day today. Hour of Code is really for all students. People tend to think that coding is just for older kids and high school and middle school kids, but that's really not the case. There are coding activities you can do with all grade levels, starting in pre-K with BBots and little apps like Codable, and moving on all the way through high school. And that's really the message that Hour of Code is trying to send, is that coding is for everybody. And the reason why this is so important to do coding at such an early age, starting at such an early age, is that it's a fundamental skill at this point. Everything in this world involves computer science and coding. It's not just for computer scientists now. We are not trying to make everybody into programmers, but just like we teach math to everybody, just like we teach biology to everybody, even though they're not going to be doctors, we teach English to everybody, even though they're not going to be writers. It's a fundamental skill that everybody should get a background in. In addition, the skills that are required for coding, such as sequencing and problem solving, translates to all other disciplines. So that's why it's very important to start at an early age and get a foundation skill in coding. So today, we are right up in the younger age stage. ScratchJr was specifically designed for ages 5 to 7, and that's the area we're going to be working in today. So this is the ScratchJr website. It's at scratchjr.org. And just repeating what we said earlier, coding is the new literacy. And ScratchJr was designed specifically for young children, ages 5 to 7. And the difference between, well, it was based off of a coding platform called Scratch, which was developed by MIT Media Lab, and it's very popular all over the world. The difference between Scratch and ScratchJr is that ScratchJr was designed specifically for younger kids who cannot read yet. So all of the Scratch icons, although it's block-based, have text on it to describe what the block is. So if you don't really know how to read yet, it was difficult to program using Scratch. But with ScratchJr, all the icons and blocks are graphics-based. So you don't see any letters, any words. So pre-reading kids can program using ScratchJr. In addition, they took away a lot of the more complex commands. Scratch was great in that it was a graphic program and you could do anything with it. But for little kids, it's a little too complicated. So with ScratchJr, they took away a lot of the more complex commands so that little kids can enjoy it and learn coding with it without getting overwhelmed. It is specifically designed for making stories and games, which fits in very well with childhood literacy. A lot of kids in kindergarten and first grade are doing storytelling, and they can create digital stories, interactive stories, using ScratchJr. I'm going to show you a little bit about this website. So this website has a Learn section that tells you a little bit about what the interface is. I'm going to show you a little different screen in a second, so I'm going to skip over this. But if you ever need to go back and see what each command is and what each interface is, you can go into this website and they have all these guides. They also have a lot of videos that will give you little tips, just few-minute videos about different tips and how-tos. They also have a teach section with several different activities that you could do with your students. Each one comes with a PDF one-pager that tells you a little bit about what you need to do. Again, they try to minimize text so that you can hand it to a student and they can most likely follow it pretty well. And these are very simple activities that take a few minutes to do. And they actually have a full-blown curriculum if you want to do this over a longer time. So they have several different curriculum options for different needs. And they also have an assessment section where they give you several assessment and ideas and tools for doing assessment. So they have a handout where it prints out all the blocks, and the students need to circle the blocks they used or things like that. So they give you assessment tools on the website as well. So this slide just shows you what to expect. I just want to show you this so you know what to expect when you get into ScratchJr. So when you get into ScratchJr and start a new program, this is the screen that you will see. There are a lot of different buttons and a lot of different sections, but I just want to highlight several things before we get into it. So the main things to remember are on the left-hand side. These are where all your characters will go. When you start a program, you're going to start out with just the cat. And if you know Scratch, you know that you may know that the cat character is a big, I guess, kind of mascot in Scratch, and ScratchJr adopted that. So now we have another cat. So this is where all your characters go. You can add and delete characters in this section. In the middle, you have your stage. That is where your animation will happen. So you can place your characters, move them around, put a background in there, so on. That is basically your screen for your animation. On the right-hand side, you have pages. And again, because this is a storytelling tool, you can have different pages. And with the pages, you can only have up to 4 pages. You just have to keep that in mind. You don't have to use 4 pages, but you can have up to 4 pages. Going across the kind of third way down, in 2/3 of the way down on the page are your blocks. This is where all of your programming commands are. And again, all of them are graphics based with no text for smaller children. And then way on the bottom is the programming area. So you take the blocks from the blocks palette and you drag it into the programming area to create your program. And then I'll go over the other buttons when we're actually in the interface. So I'm gonna switch over my view in a second to my iPad. It might take a little second, so hold on one moment. So if you're in your iPad, you should have already installed ScratchJr. And I forgot to remind you to do so at the beginning, so I hope everybody had done that already. I'm gonna go ahead and click on ScratchJr. Whoops. And everybody should see this screen if it's your first time going into ScratchJr. And what we're gonna do first is press the home button. And if you've never used it before, this screen should look pretty blank to you. In my case, I have a lot of programs saved in there already. So I have a lot of things in there, but you should only have one thing in there, which is the plus button over here. So you're gonna click on the plus button to start a new project. And once the new project launches, it looks just like the screenshot I had earlier. So again, on the left-hand side here is where the characters go. We have the pages on the right-hand side up here. And we have the stage in the middle, blocks all along the bottom, and the programming area in the bottom. And what we're going to do today is to make a small program based on a pre-made storyboard. And a storyboard is just a plan for a program. And if you're doing this with students, you're actually going to have the students create the storyboard first with their own story, and then program it on ScratchJr, which is a better way to do it than just giving them the iPad without any plans, since they'll probably get carried away and never finish the story. I actually learned that the hard way while trying to do ScratchJr with my 7-year-old daughter, who started just getting carried away choosing all the characters and making them move, that she never really got to the story part. So the storyboard we're going to be using today is a 2-page storyboard. It's in the Google Classroom site. So I'm gonna have everybody see it. Look at it from the Classroom site if you want to, or I have it right here. First page, well, it's a storyboard for a field trip program. It's only 2 pages. First page, we're gonna have a school bus that's gonna be saying we are going to the aquarium, and it's gonna move from the left side to the right side of the page. And then in the second page, we're gonna show the aquarium piece, and we're gonna put a couple of fish and seahorse and some other sea animals and make them move in certain ways. So that's the goal for this activity. Now, because we're, so again, we said we want the school bus. So we need to get rid of this cat first. To get rid of the cat, there's a couple of different ways to do it. One is to just press and hold the cat on the screen until you see this X, and then press the X. The other way to do it is to go to your character pane and press and hold, again, until you see the X, and press the X. Either way, you can remove a character by doing so. Now we're going to add a school bus. So I'm going to say I'm going to hit the plus button to add a character, scroll down to the bottom, and we see a school bus. And you can kind of scroll around and see what kind of characters we have. So we have the cat and some imaginary characters up top. There are animals, including farm animals and some fish and other animals in the middle. We have a lot of people towards the middle, some vehicles, trees, plants, planets, things like that, buildings, and some everyday objects. So we're going to go ahead and pick the school bus. You can either double click or double tap on it, or just tap it once and hit the check button on the top. So I'm going to do that. And now your school bus appears in your screen. The next thing I'm going to do is select a background. So to select the background, you have a background button on the top, in the center of the top of the screen. I'm going to go ahead and tap that. And again, there are a lot of different backgrounds available, like of different settings like forest, you have your bedroom, you might have a planet. So I'm going to select the city. So now your bus is in the city. You can drag and drop your character anywhere on the screen. I'm going to put the bus on the road here. And it's a little bit big right now. So what I'm going to do is go into one of these menus. Oh, and the blocks are arranged in different menus. The blue tab has all the motion-related icons. I'm going to move to the purple one, which have all the visual, kind of the looks-related icons. So I'm going to drag out this resize shrink block. You can see the person getting smaller. That's a shrink block. Now to run this block, I can just tap it, and you see that the bus shrunk. And I actually tapped it twice to make the bus shrink to a size that I like. And then now that the bus is the size that I like, I don't need those commands anymore. I don't need this command anymore. So I'm going to take this and drag it and put it right back onto the tray, and it disappears. So the bus is a good size now, and I positioned it to the left side of the road. Now we said with the storyboard, we wanted the bus to move to the right. So in the motion icon, motion block, we see move right. I'm going to try that. And it moves right, but it doesn't quite go all the way to the right. So I can either keep on tapping this until it goes all the way to the right, or you see the little 1 on the bottom, we can tap in that number and put a bigger number in there. So I'm going to put on 5, see how far it goes. So it went to about middle of the screen. So we can either keep on playing with this number and see, make sure it gets to the end of the page, or we can turn on a grid by tapping this grid icon at the top, and it shows up with a grid on the screen. It's a little bit hard to see, so I'm going to zoom in for a second. So you can see that with the grid, there are numbers along the bottom, and numbers going up the side, just like coordinate system. And right now the bus is actually positioned at 5 and 5. Now, if I wanted the bus to go all the way to the right side of the screen, it probably should get to about 17 maybe, which is about here. So I'm going to make it go forward 12. So I just changed the number in my move block to 12. I'm going to zoom out. I can tap this again, and it moves forward 12, getting to the end of the page. I'm going to move this back again. So notice how I keep on bringing it back to the start position, because what's going to happen if I don't is that if I run this again, it's going to go off the page, which I don't want it to do. Now there's an easier way to do that, which is to use this green flag block, which is it's called a trigger. And if you use the green flag, then to run this code, you tap the green flag at the top of your screen. And what the green flag also does is it resets the position of the character each time. So now I don't have to drag the bus back to the beginning, but each time I hit the green button, it automatically starts at the same place every single time. So now we got the bus to move. Okay, I'm going to turn off my grid since I don't need it anymore. The next thing we want to do is make the bus say we are going to the aquarium. And this is where the literacy piece comes in. Students can write their own sentences while they're doing the storyboard, and then when they're doing the coding, they can copy it right in to ScratchJr. So the speech block is inside the purple tab. It's a little block that says hi. And if you, if you tap it, you can see that the bus just says hi. And if you tap the hi, I can edit what it says. So I'm going to say, we are going to the aquarium. Okay. So now, if I hit the green button, green flag, the bus moves, but it doesn't actually say we are going to the aquarium because this is not connected to anything. I can, for example, I can connect it to the move button and it will then move forward and then say we are going to the aquarium. Or I can put it in front of the move block and say we are going to the aquarium first and then move after we say it. The third thing I can do is put another green flag block and put the two different commands on two separate green flag blocks. Now it's going to move forward and say we are going to the aquarium at the same time. So I actually like that the best, so I'm going to leave it at that. But you can have multiple green flag trigger blocks and have multiple things happen at the same time. So we're actually done with the first page, and we're going to move on to the second page. And just a quick reminder what the second page is going to be. It's going to show the aquarium scene with some sea animals, and we're going to make them move in different ways. So to add a page, we're going to click the plus button on the right-hand side. And again, it starts with a cat because that's just the default setting. So we got to get rid of the cat. And remember to get rid of the cat, we tap and hold and press the X button. So now the cat is gone. I'm actually going to start out with a background this time. So we click the background button again. And this ocean underwater scene looks like the aquarium. So I'm going to choose that one. Now we are showing underwater scene. And then we're going to add some sea creatures in there. So I'm going to add a fish. You can choose whatever you'd like for this. There's crab, seahorse, starfish, fish, whale, penguin. So I'm going to choose a yellow fish. And I'm going to choose one more thing. Let's say I'm going to choose a seahorse. So we have two animals now. And you can actually add many more characters. I don't know if there is a limit. I haven't found a limit yet. I've had a page with up to about 8 characters, and I haven't really hit a limit yet. So there may be a limit, but I'm really not sure. So I'm going to position these animals to wherever I want it. And let's say, and one thing to note is each animal has its own script. The script is the program. So each character is going to have its own script, and that is because each one is going to have its own behavior. So when I click on the fish, you see that in the programming area, I see a little outline of the fish. That's telling me that now I am programming the fish. If I have the seahorse selected, I see a seahorse over here, and that's when I'm programming the seahorse. So I'm going to start out with the green flag block again. And seahorses tend to kind of go up and down. So in the motion block, I am going to select go up and go down. I'm just going to see what it does. Up and down, up and down. I want to make it go up a little bit further. So I changed the number to 6 for both of them. So now it's going to go up 6, come down 6. Now I think that's a little fast, because seahorses don't move that fast. So if you go to the orange tab, there is a speed block that you can use to slow things down. You can choose 3 different speeds. And whatever speed you choose, any motion block that comes after that is going to be the slow, medium, or fast speed. The default speed, by the way, is medium. So now I slowed it down, and it's going up and down slowly. And I like that, so I'm going to leave the seahorse at that. Oh, and one more thing. I actually wanted to keep on doing that forever, because right now it only does it once, and I want it to keep on kind of bobbing up and down. To do that, we go to the red menu, and there is a repeat forever block. If you put this repeat forever block at the end, all of this code will keep on going forever until you stop the program. Another option for repeat is in the orange menu. You can put a repeat block around the motion blocks, and you can specify how many times to repeat. So now I can say just do it twice. So instead of repeating forever, right now it just repeats twice. Goes up and down and up and down. Okay. So now I'm actually going to program the fish. So just like we did before, we're going to have the green flag. And I'm going to have the fish going forward, let's say 10 steps. And then going backwards. Whoops. 10 steps. And I'm going to repeat that as well. Let's say repeat it 4 times. That's good. So now we can play this. And we have the fish going sideways, seahorse going up and down. And we kind of have an animated aquarium scene. So one last thing I have to do for this story to play completely is to go back to my first page and tell the first page to move on to the second page, which is this block. So this block here says, after you're done with moving 12 steps forward, move on to the second page. This red block doesn't appear until you have a second page. So when you first started the program, it actually wasn't there. It appeared after you added your second page. So now, if I play this, we have a bus saying we are going to the aquarium, and then we move on to the aquarium scene. And of course, if you're doing this with your students, you can have the aquarium scene be a little bit more interesting. You can add some speech bubble to the fish to make them say something, or you can add a narrator. So you can add, let's say I'm going to add a child. Let's say this is myself. And as a narrator, I could say something like, at the aquarium, I saw, or I'm just going to say, I saw a fish and a seahorse. So now, as the fish are swimming around, the girl is narrating the story. So that's so you could keep on adding characters, and you could obviously keep on adding stories, adding text, adding movement. So with our little 2-page storyboard that we had, we're done with the storyboard. We've done everything we said we we're going to do on the storyboard. But there are some features that I do want to show you, so we're going to keep on adding things. Oh, so saving the program, I forgot to mention this. This is very important. This ScratchJr does not autosave. So right now, if I just close the program, close the application by hitting the home button on my iPad, so like this button here. If I push that button and close the program, all this work I just did will go away. To save it, you need to either hit the home button here, which will save it and bring you back to your home screen. And this is, I'm just going to go back into my program. Or you can hit the tab, yellow tab at the top right corner, and you can rename your project. So I'm going to name this field trip. So now it's renamed and it's saved. What you also see here is you can share the project by email or by AirDrop. So you could share the project, send it to somebody over email. However, ScratchJr only opens in ScratchJr. You can't open it anywhere else. So when you receive it as an email, you just need to open up the email in your iPad, and then you can play the animation. But you can't have it, it's not going to export an animation or anything like that. The other important thing kind of related to this is that, again, because it's not very easy to share a ScratchJr project between different iPads, it's best to assign an iPad to a student and have that student use the same iPad every single time, so that if they're in the middle of working on a project, the project is there and they don't need to email it to them, email it to the teacher, and have it opened again. So just make sure you assign the iPad to a student each to the same student each time you're doing this in your class. So we said before that this program is made for pre-reading kids. And if the kids are very small, let's say like K1 or K0, they may even have a hard time typing in sentences like this when we put in speech. So there is another option for kids like that. There is a microphone button here in the green tab. And I'm not going to use it now because I know it's not going to work with the audio for the webcast. But you can actually record sound and have a student. So hit the record button and it will record a sound. And it's going to store it as a file. And you'll be able to play back when you insert the block. So students can orally narrate a story. And they can even do that when you have a written speech bubble like this. They can supplement that with real speech. So again, this is really good for kids who are just developing their language skills. Another icon I want to show is some of these movement icons. Let me go back into my fish page. So we said before that you can have multiple green flags to make things happen at the same time. You can combine different motion to make the fish or make the characters move in interesting ways. So you can, in this case, it's just going back and forth. But if I add, sorry, I'm going to wait till this thing stops. Let me stop it. Stop. This is the jump icon, jump button that makes the fish jump. If I add this to my going back and forth, it's going to basically be jumping up and down as it moves back and forth. So it kind of gives the fish a little bit more interesting movement. And it makes it, it gives it a little bit more illusion of actually moving in the ocean and going with the water. You can also make things move diagonally. If you have a, let's say, move right block and move up block at the same time, then it will move diagonally, which sometimes you may want to do. Just going over some more blocks on the purple tab, we already used the shrink block, which was here. There is also a grow block, and there is a block to make it go back to the original size. There is a hide and a show block too, if you want the characters to disappear after a while. So let's say, I'm going to change it to 2 for now. Now I'm going to put that at the end of the fish block. So now the fish is going to go forward, backwards, and then repeat that twice, and then it will disappear. So you could do something like that as well. Now, once you make something disappear, if you need to make it reappear, you just use the appear block, and it comes right back. So sometimes, my daughter actually made a little program where she had a wizard make a rabbit disappear. So she had the rabbit appear, and then the wizard said something, and then the rabbit disappeared. And so for that, she used the disappear block. Oh, and one more thing I definitely want to mention is the edit feature. So the background and the characters can all be edited. So you see that little paintbrush icon there. So as you tap the characters, you'll see the paintbrush icon show up. If I tap that, it comes out with a paintbrush type of window. Now this interface is not exactly that easy to use in terms of drawing a shape, but for coloring an existing shape, it's actually pretty easy. So let's say the fish I thought was blue. It actually wasn't a yellow fish. So I can click on the blue paint. Sorry, I'm running off the page here. Okay. Make sure your paint bucket is selected over here. Just click, and now I have a blue fish. And let's say that's the fish I saw. So now I say check, and it saves it as a different character, so you don't lose the original yellow one. I'm just going to show you here in the character pane. If I go into the select a new character, now that's my new blue fish that I just made. the original yellow fish is still here, so you don't have to worry about saving over anything. So that's the blue fish, and you can do that with any of these. So if you want to edit the clothes that the child is wearing so that it looks more like yourself, you could easily do that. So let's say I really only wear black dresses. So now she's got a black dress. And you can do the same with backgrounds as well. You just go into the background pane on the top, select the background, and hit the edit button on top. And now we can do the same thing with this background. So I'm not sure what I want to change in here. Let's say I'm going to change that to a green coral. And I'm going to make that an orange coral. So you can do that kind of things. And again, this will save as something else. So you don't have to worry about removing the original one. Another interesting thing you can do is there is a camera feature that you can use to add stuff. So you actually notice that some of these people don't have faces. And the reason why they don't is they want you to insert your own face. So it's got a blank face, but you bring it into the paint editor, click the camera icon. And then, so this camera is a little tricky to use. So you have to click the camera and then click the area where you want the image to go in. And yes, so that's the iPad camera. So I can stick my face in there. And then click the camera button. And now I have a character with my own face in it. And believe me, kids will have a kick out of this. And you can save this and put yourself into the animation. And you can do that with, don't laugh. You can do that with a lot of things. Let's say you wanted a background, but the background that you want is not any of these pictures. You can have a student draw something on a piece of paper and then use the camera on the iPad to import that into a background. So for example, you can say, I'm gonna create my own background. I'm gonna start with a blank slate, create my own background. So again, the camera feature again is a little bit weird. It needs an area to capture the image. So I'm gonna start out with a big rectangle, click the camera button, click inside the rectangle. So now that's the camera. So let's say I want this storyboard to be my background. There. And I hit the camera button. Now we have our own background. So you can do that with anything. So you can have students actually make drawings on paper and create their own stories and own backgrounds and import that into the program as a background or a character, which is really fun to do. So I think I have gone over most of the things I wanted to do. Oh, one more block that I just want to highlight is this wait block. It just adds a time. So if you want the girl to, let's say, move forward and then wait. Yeah, I know. If you want it to go forward and wait a little bit, and let's say I'm going to repeat that. So you can add a little delay in your program. And 10, the number here is 1/10 of a second. So 10 means 1 second, which I wasn't quite happy that they did that with, because kindergartner kids will not really know 0.1 seconds, but they can just play with the number until they get a delay that they like. Okay, so I need to stop myself from moving. Okay, so that's kind of the gist of ScratchJr. I am gonna switch back and take any questions if you have any. If you have any questions, just type it into today's meet. And I forgot to mention, but Nick Gonzalez from the digital learning team is moderating the today's meet.
Hi, everybody.
So if there is any pressing questions, he's gonna let me know. So I'm gonna switch the camera to a different view. I just put up a slide with a bunch of resources. And again, we have the Hour of Code page where you should sign up to get the $10 teacher prize for anybody who signs up and does Hour of Code. Second resource is the BPS Hour of Code. And again, you should sign up there as well so that we can give you new information for contests and prizes. I put up the ScratchJr website, and I have a link to Google Drive folder for a bunch of other resources. I'm gonna actually show you that right now. So this Google Drive folder has, so far it has 5 lesson plans. I'm gonna be adding as we go along. So the field trip one that we just did is over here. This one here is slightly longer, and it actually doesn't have the preloaded aquarium scenario. And the lessons plans have step-by-step instruction for the teacher, and it contains a storyboard for you to photocopy and use with the students. For in this case, the first page is we are going to blank. And I have a range that you could choose from, or you could choose something else completely differently. The reason why there are choices is because those are the backgrounds that are available in ScratchJr that might be fun for a field trip type of activity. And it asks students to list 2 or 3 different things that they're gonna see at the field trip. And then they need to sketch the second page. Whoops, didn't format right. I gotta fix that, but sketch the second page and explain what each character is going to do. And now once they have that storyboard ready, you can put them on the iPad and have them program the storyboard. Going back, so there are several other ones. We have a Brown Bear. So that's one of those books that everybody reads in kindergarten. And this storyboard will take you through programming something similar to Brown Bear on the iPad. And students can choose their own animal. Yep. And in this case, there's a brown bear and a pink bunny and a green elephant. So they can be creative and choose their own animal and create their own story. So I hear that there's a question.
So the question is, could you take a picture of the classroom and use it?
Yes, that's a very good question. Yes, you can. So iPads or tablets usually have 2 cameras, the front-facing camera and the back-facing camera. And when you're in the camera mode, let me switch back to that view. So let's go back to the background. Edit. So by default, it takes the front-facing camera because it thinks you're looking at the screen and it wants to take a picture of yourself. But this icon up on the top right, you click that and it switches to the back-facing camera. And then right now, my camera is not viewable, but let's see if I can get it to see anything. I'm using a document camera to look at my iPad, so this is not gonna work very well. Oh, here we go. So I just used the back-facing camera on my iPad to take a picture of the door of the little room that we're in. So yes, it can take a picture of your classroom, and you most definitely can do that and use it. Another thing you could do, let me go out of here. Sorry. So I said before that you can use a picture in a character. You could also start with a blank character. So don't start out with a character with a blank face. And let's say just draw a circle and fill that with a face. So I could put myself again. Stand over here, smile. Okay, so now you can have a character without having that person. So you can put pictures of a bunch of your students without the body or the hair and all that, but you can line it up like that to do characters as well. Or you can use a photo or drawing and make it into a character as well. So I think I have pretty much covered all I wanted to cover for Scratch. So BPS classroom page. I'm going to put up an exit ticket, which is basically just a short little survey, 3 questions for you to hopefully give us some feedback on. And this is going to be very useful. We're going to be doing more webinars later this month, and we will take every word of your feedback and use it productively. So if you could go back to your Google Classroom site and just give us feedback, that would be very much appreciated. And I am also going to post the links that were on the presentation. These are the same links that appeared in the presentation. Is there another question? Yep, there's another question.
Anne-Marie wants to know if you could do anything with only one iPad available for the entire classroom. Can you do something like this?
With one iPad available, I have, so one suggestion is to project it up on the screen and do a class activity where you program a story together as a class. Or you could set it up in a center type of situation where only a small group will be working on it at the same time. But you could, for the hour of code, if you want everybody to get a chance to do it, I would definitely say just project it up on the screen and do a whole class activity. So you can program something, but you take inputs from students as to what the characters are doing and have everybody raise their hand and tell you what next to do. And one little thing about projecting iPad screens on a projector, I'm actually using a small document camera that's pointing at my iPad screen to project the image to you, which is also a great tool for projecting an iPad screen onto a projector, onto the wall for classroom use. Otherwise, another option is to get some sort of lightning cable or other cables that can connect directly into the projector or your computer. But typically, it's kind of hard to project an iPad screen directly onto a projector. So if you know any good way of doing so, I'd love to hear it. But right now, I'm using a document camera. And that's it's been working well so far. And I suggest it for teachers if you have a camera. Or if you need to borrow one for the hour of code, I'd be happy to arrange something. Obviously, I can't meet everybody's request, but we can try to work something out. Yeah, there is really no sign-in for the ScratchJr, which is sort of unfortunate. And there's also no way to lock a program once it's been made. So once you go back to your home screen and see all my old programs, anybody can actually go in here and edit it if they want to, which is somewhat unfortunate because I used to, I had a really nice program and then my son went into it. My son's in kindergarten and he kind of destroyed it. So I had to reprogram it all over again, which was a bit disappointing. So you need to make sure if you're sharing iPads with different students to just let them know that it is not, it's not lockable. So you need to make sure they only touch the projects that they made. So this is my home screen. I have a lot of different programs. And if you don't go into the top right tab to change the name, the generic name is just project and a number. So I have project 1, project 6, project 9. I have all these different project numbers, which if you're using one iPad for the whole class and everybody just has project 6 and 4 and 10, they're probably not going to remember which one their project is. So it's going to be really important for you to tell the students to, when you create a project, first thing you do is go to this top right tab and rename your project, probably with their name on it. And once they do that, it will save with the new name. So my field trip project was saved as field trip because that's what I put it in. And that way they can keep track of which project is theirs and try not to edit somebody else's project. And thank you everybody for joining. And I hope this had been informative. And if you need any more assistance or if you have questions before you do this for Hour of Code, just let me know. My email is on the Google Classroom site. Feel free to let me know and I'd be very happy to help you. And definitely check out the other lesson plans that are on the Google Drive. There are 5 different lesson plans and I'll be adding more as we go along. So, and make sure you go to the Hour of Code website, sign up. Make sure you go to the BPS Hour of Code website, sign the pledge. And I think that's it. I think I haven't forgotten anything.
Thank you, everybody. It was good to be a part of this.
Thank you, Nick, for helping out with the today's meet. And it was very, very nice to see you all. Thank you. Bye-bye.
Thank you, everybody.